Hi, in this short film we're going to be thinking about something called the perfect cadence. Well, first of all, what are cadences? Well, I like to think of them as kind of musical punctuation. Some people, when they write their own pieces of music, have some great ideas on the go, but it just has a kind of sort of continuous feeling about the piece. It never comes up for air anywhere. And this would be a bit like me speaking like this now. I'm not going to put any punctuation in at all. I'm just going to keep talking for as long as I can in one breath, but I've got no full stops and no commas, and it's just becoming an endless sentence. You see the problem? We've just got words coming out with no punctuation. Music can sound like that too. We need punctuation. And that's where cadences come in. And so we've got four main cadences that we use that are a means of saying we've come to the end of a musical phrase or a musical sentence, and we're going to use two chords that just help us to enforce that we've come to the end of something. And the perfect cadence is frequently used in music. Now, what the perfect cadence is chord 5 followed by chord 1. So how do we find the chords? Well, if we're in C major, we need to work out the first degree of the scale, which is C, and we build a chord, a triad. So here's C, 3 notes above it is E, 5 notes above it is G. So that's my chord 1, or my C chord, or it's sometimes called my tonic chord in C major. So that's the 1 that we're talking about here. In order to find the 5, we find the 5th note of the scale. So if I'm in C major, C's number 1, D's number 2, E's number 3, F's number 4, G's number 5. So I'm going to build a chord or a triad on G. So it's G, 3 above G is B, and 5 above G is D. And that gives me chord 5. So when I come to the end of a phrase, if I want to have a perfect cadence, I need to have chord 5 followed by chord 1. So here's 5 followed by 1. Now, of course, I don't have to just use it in this form of just a triad followed by another triad. I can use the notes of chord 5 in any way I want to. So I might have G, B, D, or I might have a chord that's spread out like this, or like this, or like this, or like this. In other words, I can do anything I like as long as I'm using these notes, G, B and D, that belong to chord 5, and I follow it with a chord 1, and I can do anything I like with that as long as it belongs to these notes. So I could have 5-1 that goes like this. I could have 5-1 that goes like this. I could have one that goes like this, 5-1. So I can change octaves, I can change the way that I distribute these notes. I can have it in 3 parts, I can have it in 4 parts, I can have it in 8 parts, whatever you want to do. But if you have the notes of chord 5 followed by the notes of chord 1, you have the pattern for a perfect cadence. So, for example, I might have a melody that goes like this, and I'll put a perfect cadence on the end of it. And you can hear how that 5-1 gives me a kind of musical full stop. I like to think of the perfect cadence as a full stop because chord 1 is the chord that brings you home. So it's the homing in chord, the full stop. So if I put chords under all of the notes in that melody and then included the perfect cadence, you'll hear that musical full stop. And you can hear that 5-1 at the end. Actually, what I did that time was I made the 5 into a 5-7. So if you wanted to do that, you could include a 7th at the top of it as well. It just makes that 5 chord even richer. So that's the recipe, if you like, for a perfect cadence. So if you are writing music, every time you come to the end of a phrase, a kind of musical statement, you might want to think about using something like a perfect cadence. And we'll be around in other films to explain the other cadences. So have fun. You can play them on the keyboard and experiment with them. You could use these notes to play on any other instrument. So if you say playing the violin or the flute, you could say, well, here's the notes of chord 5 and here's the notes of chord 1. Could you make up a melody that uses 5 followed by 1? So you could feel a cadence even on a melodic instrument. Anyway, have some fun with the perfect cadence.